The Associated Press last night reported, citing MLB sources, that Major League Baseball is considering skipping its amateur draft this summer. Essentially $400 million in rookie signing bonuses, and Major League Baseball doesn't really have any revenue right now. So they're looking at ways to cut costs. That's something apparently that's being considered. That is mind-boggling to even consider the potential ramifications of that. Kendall Rogers would be way better at sorting that out than I am. He joins us now, D1Baseball.com. Thanks for the time, man. How are you? How's your family?
Oh, we're doing awesome. It's good to hear your voice, man. It's kind of weird to say that, but, it's been a couple of weeks now since we talked a little baseball, and it's been a crazy last week. I tell you what, man, I feel like it's been 2 months since all the Rudy Gobert stuff happened and the college baseball season ended. It really does feel like it's been that long ago. But
it's crazy.
Hey, we're all here. We're still rolling, and all I want to know is to make sure Todd Peterson's okay.
Todd Peterson.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Dude, we're in the break. We're in the break. I told Musso, I said, be prepared for Todd Peterson.
Todd Peterson.
You're not sliding that one past us ever, dude. You're never slipping one past the goalie.
I love it. Coronavirus or not, everybody's on the ball.
We got the button bar, man.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens here on the draft front. I think a lot of this is posturing on both sides. I don't think a lot of people realize this, but the draft has to be negotiated between Major League Baseball and the Players Association. So a lot of this stuff that's leaking out as part of this negotiation, maybe there's something MLBPA wasn't agreeing to. So Major League Baseball, in response, leaks out this, we may just cancel the draft. So there are a lot of things at play here, and I guess my take would be not to really believe any of them at this point, because I've heard it could happen later in June, it could happen later in August, it could happen in December, and we find out last night it could be canceled. So we have a lot of options. I do think the doomsday option would be just canceling it. I think if we get to June and, the curve hasn't been flattened, this thing's still spreading like crazy, we haven't slowed it down, then I think Major League Baseball is going to say, you know what, we've got a lot more important things we need to kind of worry about right now than the MLB draft. But there's also the money play. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have kind of followed it or even covered it on here, but, the minor leaguers are kind of negotiating now, trying to get some sort of payment here because they're not playing baseball. They only get paid if they're playing baseball.
Right.
And so there's also that. What are you going to do? Tell the minor leaguers, hey, we're not giving you another penny after April 8th or whatever. But by the way, we'll turn around and give Cole Henry $3 million in the draft. What kind of signal are you sending to the minor leaguers at that point if you're going to do that a month later in the draft? So there are just a lot of things at play here, and I think everything's on the table.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought about that. So realistically, all right, let's play this hypothetical, right? And understanding it's a hypothetical, but just curious where this might go. But if they cancel the draft, let's say the worst case happens, they cancel the draft. What does that mean for college baseball?
It will mean it'll be total pandemonium, but it would be incredible for college baseball. I mean, because what would happen is if you didn't have a draft, guess what? All those freshmen that LSU signed, they're going to have 3 or 4 or 5 guys in every class that are going to have a great chance to get signed or, get drafted high and signed. All those guys are going to school for a year or 2. And so that is the main reason why I don't see it get canceled, because it just creates total pandemonium in college baseball. But let's just say it's canceled, and let's just say freshmen have to go to college. Well, I mean, these rosters, and then from the NCAA standpoint, are going to be just monstrous. I mean, schools like Arkansas or Texas Tech, who are already bringing a lot of guys in the fall, they're going to have 60 guys on campus. So, I mean, seriously, it's going to be the NCAA and the MLB have to be talking right now because the decision affects the other. And so I think for me, if it gets canceled, then everybody's coming back. Now, I will argue this. I think if you're guys like Cole Henry or your guys like Spencer Torkelson at Arizona State or Asa Lacy at A&M, even if I'm coming back or I'm allowed to come back, I've proven enough the first few weeks of the season that I tell you what, I'm not touching a baseball again. I'll train, but I'm not getting back on the mound in college because I've kind of proven all I need to prove, and I'm not risking injury. So I think what you would have is you'd have everybody come back, but I think you would have a lot of the high-profile kids go, you know what, like I'm just going to train for the next 6 months and get ready for the draft. But you never know. Like, I'm speaking for these kids, but it certainly creates a very, very interesting situation. And I do not want to be Nolan Cain, the recruiting coordinator at LSU, if that happens, because it's going to be an absolute mess.
Have you heard Kendall Rogers is with us, D1 Baseball. He's on Twitter at Kendall Rogers. Give him a follow. Have you heard anything from the NCAA about what they might do as it pertains to rosters and scholarships with 25 and 11.7?
Well, I mean, what I put out the other day on Twitter, and that's a kind of an educated guess. That's not straight from the NCAA, but it's from talking to different sources on what they feel like is going to be the framework, and that would be keeping the 25% scholarship minimum, getting rid, at least for a year, the 27 player scholarship cap, which you can put that 11.7 through 27 guys, getting rid of that for a year, and also making it where seniors do not count against your 11.7. So let's just say LSU had 4 guys come back. Well, those guys as seniors, those guys would get the percentage they had the previous year, but that percentage would no longer count towards 11.7. So that's another issue in itself, and it's kind of twofold here. The NCAA, man, I really thought when they came out last week and said, we agree that everyone should essentially have their eligibility back, I thought that was a really, really bad PR statement, because what I'm hearing now is they're starting to realize, and these ADs are starting to realize, that we can't give everyone in every sport in the spring their eligibility back. It just creates massive roster issues. So what I'm hearing, and I hope my sources are wrong on this, but what I'm hearing is that only seniors will get their eligibility back. So you're going to go from agreeing to a framework of everyone to only agreeing that seniors should get it. So, like, you and I may totally may look at it and go, okay, it makes financial sense, because at a place like LSU, you may be spending $4 million in your athletic department to take care of these seniors coming back. Like, that's, at places like Texas A&M, or LSU, that's how much it's going to be for all these sports. And so that's real money. And you think about a school like, Louisiana Lafayette, or you look at Louisiana Tech, like $4 million is not chump change at these places. And so that creates an issue, and it's just going to be a mess. I don't know what the answer is, but I would say if you're the NCAA, the easiest way, they're going to go the easiest pathway that can be, used for every single sport. And I think what they'll do is they'll do the framework I mentioned for baseball, and then they'll just do seniors. I think that's the easiest way for the NCAA to do a clean break.
A couple more things for you, and Kendall Rogers good enough to give us a couple minutes of his time. You mentioned like a guy like Asa Lacy. Okay, I get it. He's probably a 1-1 guy, no doubt. But I look at a guy, give you an example, like a Daniel Cabrera or Saul Garza, even Devin Fontenot. Guys who, Cole Henry, all guys who would have stood to use this season in their draft year to elevate their stock.
Yeah.
Now they don't have this year. What, from a scouting perspective, Kendall, what do scouts say about guys like that everyone knows has potential, but we're waiting to see if they took the next step? What does that do to their draft status?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the unknown, and there's not an easy answer to that. I mean, you think when you look at a program like LSU that you see enough of those guys the first 4 weeks to make a determination. But in some cases, I don't think you do. Like Daniel Cabrera, for instance, had some big moments. Saul Garza had some big moments in the last year, but wasn't off to a great start. But he's one of those guys again. Like once SEC play started, he could have gotten red hot, and all of a sudden his stock rises. And even Cole Henry, I do think there are some scouts out there who would look at a guy like Cole Henry and go, you know what? Like, he looks awesome. Okay, but let's see him stay healthy for a full SEC season. And at that point, I've made my mind that guy's a bona fide top 2 rounder. Now, for me, I think he's a top 2 or 3 rounder no matter what. But I think there are some scouts who would go, okay, I want to see him stay healthy. So in that sense, you're right. I mean, there are plenty of guys in college baseball who would have something to prove. I think if you're Paul Maneri, and he may have already answered this, but if you're Paul Maneri, like you're totally okay with the draft getting canceled because guess what? You got the next like 6 months to sit there and kind of nudge Cole Henry and go, hey man, it would be really beneficial if you came back for another year. And so, though right now it may look like a situation where you may not decide to come back, you have a long time to convince him to do so.
Man, it's going to be fascinating to see how all this unfolds. Before I let you go, D1Baseball.com for people who love baseball and certainly college baseball as well. Get to the site. What kind of content are you all going to be able to produce during this time without college baseball?
Well, thankfully we got on the horn last Wednesday when all the Jazz stuff happened. I called Kyle Peterson and Aaron Fitt. We kind of got on the horn. We've got a lot of ideas. Right now we kind of launched a new ballpark series, kind of looking at some of the construction projects at every single program. We started today with Florida. We've got analytical rankings. We're gonna do a wrap for every single league, basically. We're gonna hand out awards. We're gonna do analysis on the teams based on the first couple of months of the season. We'll do player power rankings, and then hopefully by the time we get done with all of that, we'll get started with summer leagues. I mean, we'll see. I'm not very confident we'll have summer leagues, but that's the hope. But thankfully, there's plenty of content options. It's just very, very strange times. I mean, I still have not been to the Dude at Mississippi State. I was supposed to go there last weekend for the Arkansas series, but then go see LSU Ole Miss on Sunday. And I'll tell you what, that seems honestly like it was a month and a half ago.
It's crazy.
And that was last weekend.
It's so crazy. Like, I mean, LSU should be playing Mississippi State in baseball this weekend at the box. Like, it's so insane. All right.
It's one of those things. So I think about it this way. Like, yeah, you know what? Like, it really stinks. But I'm trying to think. I always try to find positives on most things. And I do think, like, next year, man, the interest and the just fandom in college baseball is going to be astronomical.
Yeah.
Because people, they get to see it for a whole year.
Man, I'm with you. I feel so much for people in Omaha that rely on this event. Just the kids that aren't going to have an opportunity to go play in the College World Series.
Think about Omaha, Matt. I mean, Omaha had first, second round of basketball.
Yeah.
They had swim trials, and they had the College World Series, and they may not have any of the three.
Nine-figure economic impact to that city.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah. Man, look, we'll keep in touch. This is a fascinating topic, and as it all develops, we'll dial you up again, man. I appreciate a couple minutes today.
I have a feeling we'll kind of find something next week, but it's great talking to you, and everybody in Louisiana, stay safe.
Thanks, man. Same to you.
Thanks, man.